Hello, my name is Brianna Vaughn, and I've been teaching high school chemistry for about 8 years. I currently work outside Modesto, California at Oakdale High School. It's a small agricultural town just east of Modesto. I decided to get my master's now, not only for extra money, to honestly become better at my craft and my profession. I want to be someone who students think highly of, and so do my coworkers. I chose to get my master's in advanced teaching practices to avoid getting in a rut and doing the same old thing every year. I wanted to push myself further. In this presentation for AIL 626, I will describe some topics I've learned throughout the first half of this program and how it has changed my teaching philosophy and my teacher growth plan. The one thing that stuck with me the most as an overarching cascading theme is student choice. Student choice is a large part of teaching as a shepherd, brain-based learning, motivation, connectivism, and lesson design. These impactful learning experiences have made me improve upon my teacher inquiry. In this presentation, I will describe why. Student choice is my main takeaway from the MS ATP courses I have taken. 5 things have played into student choice as being the cascading theme of this program. 1, teaching as a shepherd. 2, brain-based learning. 3, motivation. 4, connectivism. And 5, lesson planning for all learners. As I have taken these courses, student choice has been an overarching theme that has piqued my interest and made me grow as an inspired teacher. My favorite quote about student choice is by Ileana Vines pleading for choice and explaining that learners are not all the same. Her quote is, "Who knows you better than you?" Ileana Vines does a great job explaining the need for student choice in this 2.5-minute video.
Hi, my name is Alana Vines, and I go to the Emory Weiner School. I like to think of myself as a pretty well-rounded person. I'm an okay student, I'm an exceptionally hard worker, if I say so myself. I play basketball, and I like to think of myself as pretty creative. Like everyone, we all have strengths and weaknesses. Some more easily recognized than others. For example, when you see someone who's in a wheelchair, the first thing you see is a weakness of theirs. Let's say you see someone who's not in a wheelchair. Let's use me as an example. You may not see someone who gets distracted easily. For some people, they may have a unique quality that can be looked at as weakness. For example, not being able to work in a normal learning environment. School systems have worked incredibly hard to provide a good education for kids to take on and go and do exceptional things. However, there's one flaw. It only accommodates to one kind of learner. Classes are structured on that one learner's strengths and weaknesses. By doing this, you're helping a lot of students, but not all. Why can't the other kids have the same advantage? So far, the only solution I've seen to this problem is one thing. One thing that seems like they're helping, but actually doing nothing to help the situation. The solution schools have come up with is to group all the other kids together that don't learn like everyone else. By doing this, you're saying they have more in common with each other than with the other students. But what if there was another way? A way for all kids to learn at their own pace? The idea I came up with is to allow the student to decide how they get the information. Yes, the child decides. Research shows that kids do tremendously better in college. They do better because they pick and choose their own classes. I mean, this makes so much more sense. No one knows you better than you. I'm not saying we get to pick our classes and what we learn. I'm just saying we get to choose how we get the information. For example, if a child has ADHD, instead of putting him or her in a separate learning environment, why not letting the child decide how they learn better, and the teacher helps them from there? So far, in the United Kingdom, they are already using this idea. They call it PLE, Personalized Learning Environments. PLEs are environments which individual learners and groups of learners can access a range of tools and resources to offer personalized learning activities. By doing this, you are not separating the child from the rest of the classmates. You are also putting the child on a path of academic success. Right now, they're being prepared because when they go to college, they'll know exactly what to do. Thank you.
In order to create a PLE and offer student choice, we must be prepared to teach as a shepherd. This comic shows student inability to think on their own and serves as a reminder that our goal needs to be guiding students to critically think and analyze to reach a conclusion. Teaching as a shepherd requires me to relinquish some control, build a strong rapport with students, and facilitate learning, all in an effort to guide students to discovery. Teaching as a shepherd is focused on a good rapport between students and teachers. Student-teacher relationship is a great indicator for success. It also makes students more active members in their learning. A good shepherd has close, intimate relationships with students, thereby allowing the teacher to make good professional decisions to ensure that all students learn. Key. Teachers do not dictate by spouting facts, and answers rather guide students and facilitate their learning with a choice of different avenues. The facilitation of material and guiding to discovery has been updated in our curriculums across classes. The goal of Common Core and NGS is to have students draw their own conclusions. In NGSS, we focus on phenomenon and facilitate learning to have students reach explanations of their own. For example, I don't tell them why we cook fries in oil instead of boiling water. I teach them about properties of matter like boiling point and ask them, why do you think we use oil instead of water to get our fries crispier? NGSS is about guiding students to reach their conclusions by analyzing examples, models, and statistics. I am a shepherd facilitating this learning event to my flock. Two, brain-based learning. Teachers who help their students feel good about learning through classroom success, friendship, and celebrations are doing the very things the student brain craves. Jensen, 2005. Teaching with the brain in mind means we acknowledge emotions as a valid part of learning. We recognize our brain has the ability to grow and change, a concept known as neuroplasticity. And we must recognize that people learn differently. I've chosen Kolb's learning cycle to demonstrate that people like to learn individually with choice. Education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Albert Einstein. The key to getting smarter is growing more synaptic connections between brain cells. Brain growth is all about making neural connections. In order to do this, students must always learn new things. The brain is not as definitive as we once thought. Neuroplasticity can be accomplished when we make students think differently and even struggle. New neural pathways can form when we learn new things, and especially when we can connect our new learning to prior knowledge. Things that affect brain development. Water intake. Brain needs 8 to 12 glasses of water per day and 198 gallons of blood per day. Dehydration is a common problem in class that can lead to sluggishness and impaired learning. Exercise strengthens your muscles, cardiovascular system, and brain too. It increases neurons connections, increases oxygen flow, and neurotropins needed for energy. Aerobic exercise has been proven to aid in memory. Increased learning of art is correlated with better visual thinking, problem solving, and creativity. The increase in arts, such as visual arts, music, or drama, has been linked to higher aptitude in a multitude of things. Those who practice music are statistically better at math and problem solving. From teaching with the brain in mind, research supports the value of engaging appropriate emotions. They are an integral and invaluable part of every child's education. We have long held that scientific logical thought is rational while ignoring emotions. However, at times, emotions dictate our survival. The chemicals of emotions play a huge role in almost all of our behaviors. Emotions control our decisions, breathing rate, posture, blood pressure, and chemical balance. Emotions are so important they have their own memory pathways. The benefits of teaching with emotions is plenty. It chemically stimulates the brain, allows for better recall, acknowledging emotions, decreases discipline problems, And it's even been proven to not only do students learn better when emotions are involved, but those who have opinions and feelings toward the material are more motivated to learn. As teachers, we must acknowledge emotions, integrate emotions, model a love of learning, celebrate good things, engage students in discourse that evokes emotions, and demand introspection from students. Kolb's is a learning cycle that demands one to think, a reflective observatory action, to conclude an abstract action, to adapt an active action, to do a concrete experience. People can choose to start anywhere in the cycle, and how our brains like to learn determines our starting point. Three, motivation. The quote and why they, students, care about the material, they become less likely to need a letter grade to prove their knowledge. That's right, student engagement is the key to intrinsic motivation. Woolport, Gowron, 2019. This quote is a great reminder that there is so much overlay in teaching. Student engagement is a great indicator of success that improves when students form emotional connections to the material ripe with student choice. The three things about motivation that stuck with me the most are the power of yet, motivating factors both intrinsic and extrinsic, and learned helplessness. The power of yet relates to neuroplasticity in that our mind can grow and it's not just fixed. In order to achieve the growth mindset, we must allow for mistakes and growth while discouraging learners to run away from difficulty. When we wisely praise students on their effort on a difficult task, they feel better and more motivated to learn. When students struggle but get praised for effort and improvement, it acts as a motivator while building stronger neurons. To help students uncover their intrinsic motivation, we must alleviate learning inhibitors and increase goal setting. The classroom environment must have a positive attitude and climate with increased feedback and student choice. Extrinsic factors include awards. Learned helplessness can lead to many negative consequences, including depression and higher dropout rates. Learned helplessness rewires the brain and gets worse when past remembers trigger the sense of helplessness. Treating learned helplessness as a teacher, I must eliminate threats, eliminate negatives, and have open communications with the struggling student. We need to shepherd students in a way that helps them connect to the material emotionally if we can. Very few students are truly unmotivated. Past experiences and current reminders can trigger memories of failure. Perhaps environmental reasons such as unsuitable learning styles, lack of resources, lack of choice, or fear of failure. But the very act of showing up to school is still demonstration of some level of motivation. Connectivism. Perhaps the most profound pedagogical implication of connectivism is that retention of information is no longer important. What is important is the development of rich and powerful connections that are accessible quickly and easily whenever someone wants to use them. Learning becomes the critical recognition of connections that change the network itself, simultaneously adding new connections, potentially in the absence of an instructor or authority. What is connectivism? Connectivism happens everywhere. It is technology-based, made for the digital age. It incorporates arts, projects, and inquiry to connect things cross-curricularly and to the real world. It is ripe with student choice. The learner in connectivism has access to online materials and online communities. The learner is active in discovering new material. The teacher is a facilitator and does not just feed information out of a textbook. Learners help create their own learning. Learners use mobile devices in the class as part of learning. The learners build new connections in their brain, adding these new connections to other prior connections. Lesson design. UDL is a way to provide children with choice for what they are learning, how they are learning, and how they are showing what they know. Universal design of learning, UDL, project-based learning, PBL, and inquiry-based learning, IBL, all play a role in student choice, teaching as a shepherd, brain-based learning, motivation, and connectivism. UDL, PBL, and IBL help students to reach all levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Project-based learning allows students to examine real-life problems. It is student-directed and collaborative. It supports lifelong learning while promoting technology literacy. Students will get to use technology to research and learn the validity of resources while connecting cross-curricular concepts. Project-based learning spans all the way to the top of Bloom's taxonomy, asking students to create something such as a model or an experiment to test. Inquiry-based learning and investigation fosters a deeper level of thinking where memorization is not the most important skill. They question and investigate a problem that often does not have a yes or no answer. Students are active in processing information. Once again, the teacher facilitates rather than just spouts facts. Students get to think how this applies to previous knowledge or how it connects to them. These past courses as part of the MSATP have changed my philosophical statement by adding so much to it. My original philosophical statement was focused on teacher-student relationship and making learning fun. While I still believe this is true, these courses have changed the way I can go about that. For example, with motivation in the environment of my classroom, I used to focus so much on the positives, hoping they would drown out the negatives. Now I know I need to tackle the negatives. My philosophy has also changed by just not making it fun, but by giving students the choice of what is fun to them and letting them choose the best ways they learn. In order to strengthen my community of learners under my shepherdship, I will offer different avenues for students to pursue their learning. For example, in a culmination project of matter, I was looking around the internet for different activities my students would like, and I thought, why just offer one of these assignments? Then I thought, why not offer my students a multitude of options? I came up with a plan to offer 10 assignments ranging from virtual labs, presentations, essays, to building a miniature water filter. Each of these assignments would be worth a certain amount of points depending on the difficulty and time involved. For example, the virtual lab is worth 2 points, while the essay is 5 points. They would have to do several assignments needed to add up to 13 points. The students will combine any of the 10 assignments to accomplish their 13-point goal. This example of a new way to set up projects demonstrates the learning I have attained during the program and exemplifies my growth as an educator. It brings in light UDL, PBL, and IBL for students to develop deeper thinking. It also allows me to be a facilitator of learning, helping my students reach their own discoveries. This options of projects plays into the fact that everyone has different learning styles. It acknowledges that students might have different starting points in Kolb's learning cycle. Allowing for choice in projects for learners also allows students an opportunity to utilize technology and seek out real-life examples as connectivism promotes. These options for assessment also address what Ileana Vine says in regard to a personalized learning environment and giving students choice. This type of lesson planning relinquishes some of my shepherdship control and gives my herd the option of how they receive the information. Letting high school upperclassmen choose how they learn makes sense. Allowing students to choose addresses how they receive information and accommodates all students. Student choice does nothing but strengthen my community of learners. Being an inspired teacher is about continual self-growth and reflection. I'm not the most introspective of people and would like to start more frequent reflection and goal setting. I'm not the most technology savvy person either. So I have stayed away and had a fear of what I cannot do. But I've learned that technology plays a big role in students' learning, and I would like to become more proficient at using technology wisely. I hope my new views and aspirations have helped me become a more inspired and transformational teacher. Thanks for watching. I'm looking forward to reading your comments.